Welcome to our Performance Edge Weekly Wisdom, where spirit drive performance. Coach Soul here. Today we are going to talk about depression. And fortunately, we can no longer ignore depression because of its negative trend, which is upward in the United States. Let's face it, even if you don't struggle with a condition right now, you probably know someone who does. How do I know that? Because according to a 2023 Gallup poll, more than 1 in 6 Americans reports they are currently depressed or getting treatment for depression. What is even more alarming is that depression still is not well understood with the current paradigm and methodology used. When you ask the expert, even on the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, they tell you that the exact cause of depression is unknown, that it might be caused by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. As an applied spirit and performance coach, this impasse is not acceptable. And I'm going to share with you a total new perspective that was known since ancient secular wisdom that will give you some new answers. But first and foremost, we'll look at a recent article that just came up a week ago. 5 things to do when you are depressed. So today in this video, first we will explore the different facets of depression, the root causes of depression. Second, we'll see the common guidelines, solutions suggested by the expert on how to handle depression. And third, I'll show you how with applied spirit practices and how by developing spiritual intelligence, you can further leverage your spirit to improve your current circumstances, which significantly will equip you to have an upper hand on depression whenever it rises. By the end of this video, today I'm going to share with you from an applied spirit lens that was understood from ancient and secular wisdom, which will equip you, give you a tool with a sustainable solution and formula to resolve any time depression rises. You ready? Let's jump in. So according to a 2023 Gallup poll and a recent article, nearly 18% of US adults, more than 1 in 6 people say that they are currently depressed or getting treatment for depression. The reality is that in today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, in this VUCA world today, the many demands in our lives have highlighted the challenges that are multi-level and more complex, with social isolation, loneliness, fear of infection, psychological exhaustion, substance abuse, and disruption in mental health care taking a toll. And what we see rate among women, young adults, and Black and Hispanic are rising the fastest. Even what's more alarming is the youth, the adolescent, that are aged 12 to 17, about 5 million kids in that age group, just over 20%, experienced an episode of major depression in 2021, among which 3.7 million they are experiencing severe impairment. In fact, psychiatrist Charles Reason, a professor of human ecology and psychiatrist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, told Dr. Sanjay Gupta recently on the podcast Chasing Life Sanjay Gupta, while the rise of depression among Americans is alarming, what's also alarming and unsettling is the difficulty in pinpointing the cause. We cannot see it on the brain scan. We don't have a blood test for it. We cannot measure its severity accurately. And even while it was asked, will you ever find a test for diagnosis depression? The psychiatrist's answer was no. because depression is like dropsy, he said. He said, depression is not a single thing that's going to yield itself to a single test. That is a perspective of a prominent psychiatrist. And I don't necessarily agree with this view. And I'm going to give you, and I'm not going to give up, because there is an answer. And as an applied spirit coach and performance coach, this is why I'm going to do my part here today. And I'm going to help people that are facing this pandemic. The reality is that, as I'm going to share later in this video, is that the biggest issue we have with the expert, with the current methodology, is a current paradigm. And I explain later in this video, as you will see. Because mastery consists in knowing the sources of your emotion, even those that might be labeled negative emotion, like we talked about anger, depression, for example, right? And also knowing the ranges of your emotions and being able to leverage them when they arise, and knowing why and when it happens. So here today, first, you will understand the symptoms of depression. And second, I will share with you the most effective common strategies offered by the expert to manage depression. And finally, I'll show you with applied spirit approach, which I do with my client, on how to resolve depression issues at the root cause, and how spiritual intelligence can help you with depression issue anytime it arises, right? Before we dive deeply, let's look at this, right? So before I dig deeper, I want to follow normal legal procedure here, like the CDC has on their website, the Center for Disease Control. The following information is not intended to provide a medical diagnosis of major depression and cannot take the place of seeing a mental health professional. If you think you are depressed, talk with your doctor or mental health professional immediately. This is especially important if your symptoms are getting worse or affecting your daily activities. So with that legal aspect being taken care of, I just really want to reiterate, I'm passionate about this topic as an applied spirit and performance coach, especially because I can see the solution, but unfortunately we are stuck in the current model and in the current paradigm because of a lack of understanding of how human operates, as I will share with you later. So make sure that you watch this till the end, because the quantum door approach will equip you with new answers. So with that said, let's jump in. So let's look at the current situation. What is depression? The CDC, the Center for Disease Control, depression is more than just feeling down or having a bad day. When a sad mood lasts for a long time and interferes with normal everyday functioning, you may be depressed. And symptoms of depression include like feeling sad, not wanting to do activities, feeling irritable, having trouble, waking up too early, eating more or less than usual, having no appetite, experiencing aches, pain, headache, stomach ache, right? Having trouble concentrating, feeling tired, feeling guilty, thinking about suicide or hurting yourselves. So this is what the CDC has in terms of high level, and you can get the link below if you want to look at it. What's a nice summary is the American Psychological Association, APA, and they say everyone experiences sadness at times, but depression is something more. Depression is extreme sadness or despair that lasts more than days. It interferes with activities of daily life and can cause physical symptoms such as pain, weight loss or weight gain, sleeping pattern disruption, or lack of energy. And it says people with depression may also experience an inability to concentrate, feelings of worthlessness or excessive guilt, and recurring thought of death or suicide. And depression is the most common mental disorder. Fortunately, depression is treatable, and a combination of therapy and antidepressant medication can help ensure recovery. And this is what the experts are saying in terms of defining depression. So the question are that, so what causes depression? And all experts, they tell you that the exact cause of depression is unknown. And the reason is they're telling you it might be caused by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. And they say everyone is different, but the following factors may increase a person's chances of becoming depressed. Let's say a person having blood relative who have had depression, experiencing traumatic or stressful event, such as physical or sexual abuse, the death of a loved one, financial problems, going through major life changes, and having a medical problems such as cancer, stroke, or chronic pain, taking certain medication, right? So those are some of the causes they mentioned, but I disagree. As I explain later, those to me are more symptoms. But that's the way current methodology is. That's the way they see it. They can get all the way to that point. But what I'm going to share will really help you further, right? And so the clear symptoms that we see is really if you're feeling unremittingly down, if you lost interest in life, those are clear symptoms. If you're asleep and your appetite has altered, if you feel hopeless, or if you're having thought of hurting yourself, right? These sort of things really are what depression is really, we can tell are the clear symptoms, right? So what are the current methodology and approach? There are main two approaches, and treatment can include either getting a therapy and or taking medication. Those are the two high-level, approach, right? And so we got to really make sure that your doctor is your first stop sign, right? He's a qualified mental health professional. We can help you determine what treatment is best for you. What is seen that most therapy lasts for a short time, and the therapy usually focuses on thought, feeling, and issues that are happening in your life, right? In some cases, understanding your past can help, but finding ways to address what is happening in your life now can help you cope and prepare you for challenges in the future. And that's what the approach that therapy does, right? And therapy can be helpful, definitely, right? Many people benefit from psychotherapy, and it's also called counseling, right? And when you look at that, some of the common goals of the therapy are what? Getting healthier, which is really important. If you smoke or have a substance use disorder, quitting smoking, for example, stopping drugs and alcohol use, overcoming fears or insecurities, coping with stress, making sense of past painful events. This is what therapists help you with. And identifying things that worsen your depression, which can help sometimes having better relationship with family and friends, understanding why something bothers you and creating a plan to deal with it. This is really the area that therapists help you with. The second branch that is medication. And many people deal with depression find that taking prescribed medication called antidepressant can help improve their mood and coping skills. Like antidepressants such as Prozac, also known by a generic name of fluoxetine, which was launched 35 years ago as the first in a new class of drugs called selective serotonin, right, reuptake inhibitor. The idea was that depression resulted from a chemical imbalance in the brain, and the imbalance could be corrected by targeting the neurotransmitter serotonin, right, or SNRI, which targets two neurotransmitters, right? But there is the truth though, but antidepressants don't work for everyone. So it's important to say that as well, because some people might just taking it and not feeling it. So in a summary, in the article I just shared, the top 5 strategies, which is very simplified. It's first one is commit to getting help. Commit to that. Lifestyle intervention can help. Changing diet or anything you need to do. Be around people. That's the first suggestion he suggests. Third, don't give up, right? Let's say, for example, if antidepressant doesn't work, try another one. And then fifth is suggesting to embrace appreciation. And so those are the current approaches that the experts are suggesting as the best practices and common guideline. And in the worst case that happen, depression can turn into people wanting to suicide, getting help in a crisis. So some people who are depressed may think about hurting themselves or committing suicide, taking their own life. So if you or someone you know is having thoughts about hurting themselves or committing suicide, please seek immediate help. The following resources can help, right? You can call or text 988, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So please, if you need help, or you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Again, you can call or text 988, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So those are really the current immediate reaction that experts are suggesting. So let's look at the current result. So with what we have in hand nowadays, yes, authorities are paying attention to mental health. But the truth is, the rising trends, as you can see, is not going in the right direction. You look at the Gallup trend, 2023, all the way 29% at the lifetime depression rate, as you can see. So that's really not where we want to be. And if you look at the other chart here, right here in numbers, you can see US adults 17.3%, which is a 4.3 change from prior year. So it's clear we cannot avoid it, and it means something isn't working. Why it's not working? And we're gonna dive into right here. And this is really what I get passionate about, because quite simply, a couple of reasons, and let's dive right back in. And before we dive into it, I want to just clarify a few things that some of the current methodology works. But if you have tried both therapy and medication, and it does not work for you, and you want a new answer, this video is for you. And again, the disclaimer here is people that have not had any success with traditional approach. People that have tried a traditional approach, and if it works for you, great, do it. But if it doesn't, please pay closer attention to the rest of what I'm going to share. And I'm sharing that because one of my clients, right, mentioned that he worked with therapists for close to 4 to 5 years. But when I helped him with a quantum door, working with me, in 4 weeks, he had breakthroughs. And after working with me for a couple of months, he was basically I checked up on him. After 6 months, he was what he says. He said, I feel energized, I feel purposeful, and I'm on track. This was what he said. So I'm not sharing that just to brag, but just to share with you that my approach is based on secular wisdom, very ancient tradition wisdom. And so if you want really to resolve the situation, please pay closer attention. All right? And I'll share with you later on how you can get even further help if what I'm sharing will kind of intrigue you, right? But let's face it, the number one issue is very simple. The reason it's not working because of a limitation. The limitation number one is there is no clear understanding of a root cause. The limited understanding of how human operates. That's really the number one problem. Because all the solutions that the current methodology are using, that the current experts are using, they're treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Why am I saying that? When someone is not having an appetite, we're currently they're looking at as a cause, while it's a symptom, as you're gonna see later, right? But that leads us straight into applied spirit, because this is where quantum law comes in. It's about understanding what are the factors and driver of your life. Applied spirit is all about treating the problems at the root cause, which will make it sustainable, and that answer is found into a new understanding of how human operates. The old model of psychotherapy and all that were built from Freud, Jung, Adler, that old model is obsolete. And actually there's a lot of speculation. But what I'm sharing with you is an understanding since ancient time, especially 5,000 years ago, since ancient Egypt, that is at the basis of quantum dot. And I'll share in a bit, but the point being that lead us into the next reason that we need to acknowledge. That's limitation 2. It's a failure to recognize the era we are in. We have entered a new world. We are entered a new era. Let's face it, what has changed? We are living in a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. Which means there is more demand and pressure imposed on us in today's volatile, right, in that VUCA world. The many demands in our lives have highlighted the challenges that are multi-level and more complex. So humanity has to evolve. And what people fail to see is that we are at the cusp of the old era. the era of Homo double sapiens. The Homo double sapiens is well known by I know that I know. 200,000 years ago, that was our ancestor. I know that I know. Or basically I can think about what I was thinking about. Right? So the pinnacle of that era can be epitomized with a philosopher thinker from France we all heard about, which is based on the Cartesian paradigm, René Descartes. I think, so I am. I think, so I am. With that paradigm, the cognitive mind is supreme. And for some reason, we gotta recognize it. That's what led us into a moon. That's what allowed us to fly. That's what helped cure all this medicine, all the disease. And with that paradigm, we still have a lot of abilities compared to the animal kingdom, for example, or vegetable kingdoms. And the frontal lobe development in the brain handles that, but still that development is not done from the human evolution phase, right? So when you call the human evolution phase, very powerful capability of Homo double sapiens. But the reality now, it has reached its pinnacle. And we need to acknowledge it. And we need to pivot and learn to evolve and accept it. So what that means is there is a need for a new paradigm. And we have entered a new era. It's the era of Homo sapiens, sapiens, or the Homo triple sapiens. And that Homo triple sapiens has a third knowing. That third knowing is the leverage that helps with spirit elevation. And that third knowing is epitomized with one sentence. I know more than I know that I know. That third knowing. I know more than I know that I know. And I don't have a whole time here to explain about the quantum door, but you can find out more about that by watching my video about the quantum door. Because the quantum door is a spirit elevation platform systems that equips people to move people from being rigid, from being stuck, from being self-absorbed, from being doubtful, from being frustrated, from being overwhelmed, to moving them into effectively in the flow, in a state of confidence, in a state of ease, in a state of optimal performance. So when you take the veil off the two limitations that I just shared with you, right? Which, as you determine, it's basically treating the symptoms, right? And also looking at the lack of seeing that we're in a new era. This leads us into understanding a new paradigm. And that new paradigm is very simple. It's paradigm 1 that we teach in the quantum door. It's what drives our experience, what drives a human experience. And there are 3 drivers of your experience. Before you dive into this is why the understanding of this paradigm is important. It's simply because of this. As we just viewed about the VUCA world, there's an excessive volume of data that our brain needs to process every day. So our brain does 3 things. Our brain deletes, our brain distorts, our brain generalizes. So in a way, it creates a filter, which makes us prone to illusions. And let's face it, illusions are in a mental realm. And illusions are like filters, and they are filters, because they are at the basis of emotional filtering in the emotional realms. Because illusion leads to denial, illusion leads to avoiding, illusion leads to escaping, illusion leads to trying to bury your true emotions. And I don't have a whole time here to go over here, but I want to just share with you why this is relevant, the 3 drivers. Because the fundamental here is to understand that your daily experience is driven by 3 main drivers. And those 3 main drivers are simply social conformity, self-projection, and resources. So social conformity is the pressure and the unseen or unspoken rules that are imposed on people by accepted society norms. As you can imagine, with the rise of social media, with the event of the 24-hour news cycle, social conformity has been elevated to critical levels. And now, let's talk about the second driver for the self-projection. Self-projection simply reflects the doubts, the insecurities, and the fear that are inherited through your personalities and your weaknesses. And now when you think about the fair driver resources, they are important, especially if there is a perception of scarcity. Like, will I have enough money? Right? Will I have enough time? Right? All those are resources. Or will I have enough energy to survive or to accomplish or to satisfy my need and my tasks and my want? So these three drivers are the basis of the formation of your illusions and the filter, particularly when the brain deletes, when the brain distorts, or when the brain generalizes. So with that knowing now, with that paradigm, that leads us into the second paradigm that people need to understand. It's human experience themselves in 5 dimensions. Yes, so through those 3 drivers. So because with that new understanding that leads us to the most fundamental the quantum dot teaches, right, is human experience themselves in 5 dimensions. And those 5 dimensions, you know them, right? It's a depth dimension, the spirit or the principle dimension. Think about the spirit principle dimension. It's like gravity is a principle, right? You just see it. It exists, but you just see it after. And the spirit is invisible. It's the same thing. So if there is an emotional dimension, there is a mental dimension, and there is a physical dimension. And here is a key. We are going in and out of these dimensions at all times. And what differs is your attention, which is a common denominator, right? So now that you understand that, you might be asking, so what do I do? Good question. So what do you do instead? Before we dive into what you need to do, you need to understand that third paradigm I'm going to share. That's very fundamental in the quantum dot teachings. Is your reality is spirit actualized into form. Your reality is spirit actualized into form. Looking at the quantum field, it's an energetic field. Yes. So where everything is energy. So you can clearly see that it's a matter of degrees. Meaning, all forms of everything that exists are then just a different manifestation of that energy. Or you could say that all forms, right, are just a different form of that energy. Now, pay attention here. Why it matters to you? Because the animating energy that carries the breath, the animating energy that carries life's power, is one and only one thing: your spirit. That can be seen, in fact, when you go into a funeral or burial, right? You see people dress up, someone that you just saw 2 days ago, laying down in that coffin, but with no more animating spirit. Isn't that powerful? Now, why is that relevant here? It's simply because of this. Because meaning your experience is a result and a form of your desires. The visible is a form of invisible, meaning specifically why that matters here. What appears as a depression is a result of an unbalance, reflecting a misalignment from your authentic spirit desires versus the reality you are experiencing. So the depression you experience is a reflection from a tension of a gap between your authentic spirit desires versus the reality you are experiencing. Hope you can see that. So if spirit is your reality actualized into form, the depression, the sadness, the worthlessness in the physical dimension is due to an emotional imbalance in the emotional dimension, which is also an imbalance in the mental dimension due to the illusions that are contrasting to your reality. So which in turn is also further result of misalignment. Yes, misalignment of your authentic desires in the spirit dimension versus your reality. How is it so? Because the bigger the misalignment and the wider the gap between your authentic desires against your reality, the more you experience emotional pain. And so depression signals that something you hoped for, some image you had, some value, some identity you had hoped did not materialize. So it leads to pain because of the unbalance, because of a misalignment, of a perceived absence or lack And that what creates emotional pain. And that pain can take many forms. If depression or anger or constant frustration, which can, right, become a source of addiction. And that emotional pain will keep increasing if not handled with awareness, because pain is reflecting a deep fear that needs to be resolved. And that's a spiritual work where we need to grow and evolve, because fear is protecting an all consciousness level. And all you that is outdated and that need to be outgrown. So if you find yourself with an urge to crawl in your bed or self-isolate, stop for a minute, stop, and ask yourself, where does your tension come from? For the most part, simply, tension is at the root cause of the pain. And if you don't know about tension, I'm going to explain to you a little bit. It's basically spirit. It's a basic spirit indicator. And so that's where it applies spirit at work. What is tension spirit root cause? Tension stems from a need to see the difference between the illusion from the drivers versus your authentic desires. That's where tension stems from, right? So in a way, you are not able to see your true reflection because of illusions that are on your way. If you can think of a dusty mirror illusion, it's basically illusions that interfere for you to see your true reflections, and that causes misalignment and pain as a result. So what you need to understand is spirit reflections, they are designed to identify the element, driver, trait, which was seeking expression. If you can think about it, in nature and in the cosmic higher order, the negative or feminine energy and polarity is what starts in terms of charge, right? The absence. And that's what ignites the motion in this physical plane. Just look at the electron, for example, that are charged negatively, right? That's where it started moving toward the protons, right? So meaning an element trait, right, seeking expression, is always manifested via its absence, or a negative trait in this case. For example, if you want to experience courage as a trait, you will have to face your fears. In order to experience speed, for example, you need to know what is slow. So you need that reference. That's what the absence does. So the goal of a reflection, a spiritual reflection, is to discern which negative trait was at play and what was seeking to experience. What was that initial desire? To find that out, that's the name of the game, alignment. What that means, you must go through identifying your pain first, then discerning that fear that's corresponding, which will lead you to identify the illusion on why you did what you did by looking at the data. So as you can see through that process, the alignment, as you see the illusion at work, you are able to reconstruct using your attention and see what was your initial desire. That's a process of evolution. I don't have too much time here, but I hope you can see that it's all about alignment. So when you ask yourself, why do I have tension? Very simple, because there is an expectation of what you want, of what you value, an image of what you are supposed to have, right? Here is a key. The secret to realize that your expectation is corresponding to an identity and to an image. And the spirit work is for you to see that. Whether or not, if that image, that identity, that value need to be outgrown, or if you need to change the magnitude of your action. So the spirit work is to uncover that consciousness level and evolve from that. So what the work is, to examine and review that image, that expectation through the three drivers I share, right? So what are the steps after examination? If a desire, the expectation is authentic, it means you need to change your approach, right? That means you will need to come from an evolved new consciousness level. And second, if a desire that you really identify is not authentic, you saw it coming from, let's say, social conformity, then you are able to unfold the consciousness level that is at the cause of a tension, and you are able to release the tension which was at the cause of your stress, of your sadness, and which led you to being crawling, to just being sad, or not wanting to exercise, or not wanting to do anything, right? So everything that was the symptoms, now that physician saw, now you can see that cause. So if you can handle it now at the root cause, you will not need to handle at the symptom level. And that's a process. Apply spirit. I hope you can see it. Yes, it will take some time training in awareness, but then you'll be positioned for a lifelong methodology. Some practices, and that's why I'm here. We have a community that will help you, and I'll share more with you of that. So since really you stuck to the end, let me share with you a bonus tip. Bonus tip that will allow you to take that to the next level. Number one, track yourself. How many sadness moments you felt, or you feel like you need to get some pills. Grade those from 1 to 10 and notice the one that are above 6, right? And just look at it. And document, number 2, document the pattern for 3-4 weeks. Do you see any pattern? Step 3, let's see, are you able to identify the value, the image, the identity at the root cause, right? Are you able to see that in that pattern, in those moments? And if you can see it, those tension you have, those down moment, that tension, is it based on illusion, right? So let's say, just a simple example, before I go to step 4, right? That's when you ask yourself, number 3, we are still step 3. That tension, is it based on social conformity? Is it based on self-projection? Is it based on resources, right? So if you can see that your sadness, your depression is due, let's say you weigh in 400 pounds, right? And then you want to weigh in 150, but you're losing weight as you go through, and it's going in the right direction, but then you're still depressed. You should ask yourself, really, that expectation you have getting to 150, is it due to, because there's a model that weighs 150? Is that expectation realistic, right? That's where it really comes in, and you can see all that at play. This is just an example I'm giving you. So step 4, in the bonus, you can see what need to change, that consciousness level, that perception, that behavior procedure. And so I hope this really helped you in the bonus stage. Now, here's what I want to do. I really want to give you more. As you can see, I'm passionate about this. And unfortunately, I gotta just, really be time conscientious here. So if you want to know more and you want to continue this conversation with me, please sign up to our brand new community, Free Souls. It's a new community, and you will get access to more tips and relevant answers to your real problems. The link is in my comment below. And also, if you haven't heard, if you have any issue you want me to discuss or to talk about, you can submit those in the comments below. Or you can request a specific video topics by logging onto www.thequantumdough.com/video. Let's face it. So yes, before I leave you today, let's face it. Depression upward trend in the United States has to be taken seriously, because 1 in 6 adults is experiencing depression. And according to that recent poll, Gallup poll in 2023, chances are that if it's not you, you might know someone that is experiencing depression. So if you're feeling like down, if you lost interest in life, or if you're asleep and your appetite are altered, or if you feel hopeless, you are having thought of hurting yourself, these sort of things, that's what depression is. And so 18% of adults, right? So here is the biggest problem we have, is that according to expert up to date, they are saying the exact cause of depression is unknown. That it might be caused to a combination of genetics, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. This is why I'm passionate about this as an applied spirit and performance coach, because the Quantum Dough equip our clients that have not had any success with traditional approach. And simply, mainly because the current approach and solutions are missing out on the biggest opportunity for mental wellness revolution. It is a development and the adherence to applied spirit, which allow people to develop spiritual intelligence. When we are faced with depression, it is a reflection of an unbalance in the basic spirit indicator tension that has its root from mental constraint for the most part, which is coming from an emotional imbalance. So it is an opportunity to make a change in your life. It is an opportunity for spiritual growth, which means we need to explore your spiritual growth opportunity. It is all about understanding that there is a misalignment between your authentic spirit desires and your reality that you are experiencing. So people need to understand this major paradigm. Your reality is spirit actualized into form. Again, your reality is spirit actualized into form. That's why I'm here as an applied spirit and performance coach, to provide you with these different angles that have been known from ancient wisdom practices so that you can leverage your spirit to optimize your performance. So the secret to take over your depression is to understand how human truly operates. Because in this new era of Homo triple sapiens, that understanding will free you and liberate you. Because when you grasp that new paradigm of Homo triple sapiens, then you adhere to my favorite quote as always: failure is a necessary prerequisite for human excellence. Till next time, live your truth. Coach Scholl, out.